Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Watson Weekend. We're your hosts. I'm Rick Watson. Jess, we have a microphone mute question here, so we will get her in a second. We're going to replay that.
Rewind. I said, hello, it's Jessica Laseski. It's rolling slow on a Friday. I've been doing this new workout class, Rick, and I have not done organized gym in a while, and it's kicking me a little bit.
I get it.
I'm gonna wake up. I'm here.
No, I mean it's okay. It's okay. We'll give you some grace today. It is Friday.
Thanks.
We are your weekly dose of medicine with just enough sugar to make it go down that little bit easier. Hopefully, your place to go for news in retail, tech, e-commerce, all the things.
All the things. We are not professionals, clearly. I mean, case in point.
Yes, correct.
But we're getting there slowly, sort of.
We could be getting worse.
We could. I mean, based on the last minute, yes.
Right.
So we do have to thank Elastic Path. They are helping us bring this world-class e-commerce, retail, and tech show your way because they help bring your unique e-commerce vision to life with flexible AI-first composable commerce platform, proven pre-built solutions, a team dedicated to your success. They're proud to support companies like Astrak with advanced pricing and product data needs while accelerating their time to market. And we're going to dive into all the amazing things that Astrak is doing. I mean, it's talking about, it's what, like my headline says, it is the B2B beatbox. And Stephen's going to break it down for us.
Stephen, we're going to go deep dive into the B2B market here. And so we're excited about that. Before that, just remember, we're a live show, so if you want to tell us where you are, if ERP and parts and customization and fitment is your love language, this is the show for you. And so we're excited to break that down. But first, we have the headline hangover. We actually have a new sponsor for this, which is Passport. Passport is actually helping brands like OG and Hexclad grow profitably worldwide. So thank you, Passport, for being a new sponsor of the segment.
Yeah, thanks, Passport. Here we go. I mean, our intros are getting jazzier. So
they're super getting jazzier. Klarna, this week, they filed their S1 for their IPO. We'll see if they make it out, but this is something that, it feels like the industry has been tracking for some time.
Yes.
It's been like a dearth of IPOs, which means not many.
No.
Hardly any.
It's been quiet town in IPO land.
Yeah, it's definitely been quiet town. So here's what we learned. We learned that Klarna has been pivoting and adding new software and things, but 80% of their GMV and revenue is still pay later. They're not, as pay later as a credit card because most of their balances only take up to 40 days. They're about a $2 billion revenue business that's growing about 24% year over year, but they make about $20 million in profit off of $2 billion in revenue. So that's a lot of work for not a lot of stuff coming out the bottom line.
Yeah, but Rick, AI is going to save the day.
AI is going to save the day. They have been consolidating a lot of SaaS vendors. I think even like hundreds, they said. They recently signed a deal this week, even after their IPO announcement, which I thought it was a quiet period, but maybe there's some rule I'm not aware of. But anyway,
whispers.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whisper. I guess they could still do press releases. Walmart and DoorDash are now customers of Klarna, which look, they don't have a lot of penetration in the U.S. market. They have like 80% penetration in the Swedish market, which is their home country. Getting into the U.S. market, you have to be where the customers are. Affirm is partnered with Amazon, and so they kind of need big players
Yeah.
to get
That
in
is winning
front
big.
of. And so Walmart and DoorDash are good names. So
They are. And I mean, look, as with the price of your average McDonald's Happy Meal going up 3x, when you can pay over time, makes it a little bit worth it, right? So,
I'm not even going to comment. There was a Twitter meme or X or something about a burrito CDO thing. If anyone's seen that, like
yeah,
from the Wall Street movies and things. So we're gonna move on from
we're
that.
just gonna put it in parking lot. I'm sure we'll have good fodder with that later.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, look, what is feeling kind of tight and in a pinch is retail sales. So data came out, February retail sales much slower than expected. Year to date, we're at 1.8%, and that is rough o'clock because when you compare that to what last year was in same time period, January through February, it was 3.6% growth. Take the 10 years prior to COVID, 3.9%. So it's not looking so hot.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I remember, last year thinking, wow, it's feeling slow, not
Wasn't
where
it
we
a
want
leap
to
year though,
be.
Jess? I mean, come on.
Well, it was a leap year, but that helped your comps. So that was the only saving grace. And you're like, woohoo, got extra mil, from that extra
Right.
day. So yeah, I mean, technically, but come on now, when you normalize for inflation, all the different things, it is super tight. And it does feel like we have started off slow, cautious, waiting to see what's going to happen. What's the next shoe that's going to drop from a consumer perspective? Eggs still expensive. So
Eggs are still expensive, and I don't think anyone wants the political spectrum talking about recession like proactively.
no,
So
you
that's
do
not
not.
helping us. That's not helping us either.
No.
So we're going to monitor this throughout the year. In the B2B sector, I've talked to a lot of business owners, agencies that January, February started out slow, but March is picking up in North America. I'm hearing in Europe in March, it still hasn't picked up yet. The consumer in the last couple of weeks on some consulting clients seems to have slowed down, and which would match some of this data here. So
Yeah.
we'll see where this is headed.
I feel the alliteration cautious consumer is heavily in our future. So
Choiceful consumer.
choiceful consumer. Yes. We're gonna have lots of other fun with that.
Yes.
But where some things are picking up, and it's for our friends at Skims. They have really been exploding. And, we talk about this modern brand playbook, and it really is coming to life in a major way with Skims in a couple of ways. You've got, of course, there's the face of the celebrity with Kim Kardashian, but she is involved. Like, she's not just on the sides, product development, marketing. She has her whole, it's like 400 plus million followers. So she's certainly got reach. They're very savvy in the way that they partner with athletes, musicians, other rising stars to stay on top of the cultural conversation, if you will, another CC. Direct to consumer, they really own their channels in a big way. They create exclusivity with limited drops. That playbook's been around a while, but it works really well for them. They also have recently launched some interesting products that have had heavy conversations. The nipple bra. So apparently that's a thing. Yeah.
You can say that on this program?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe one of the guys can edit it out in the repeat. So, and then inclusivity is a strategy. They have this wide size range, so it really feels like you're seeing kind of the everyday woman or man, because they aren't just for. Do you have Skims yet, Rick?
No.
In your wardrobe? Okay.
No, not. By the way, does Skims sell a sweatshirt dress?
Oh, I'm not sure, but is this a Belichick reference?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. If not, they will, and she will be the sponsor. So she does love to rock a sweatshirt dress.
100%.
They might be his sweatshirts. It's not clear. Yeah, and the only thing I'd say, like, headwind wise, is sometimes with these celebrity brands, you make a misstep, and that can like tank sales. There is some sustainability pushback given the materials and then also just kind of the quick turn. But I don't know, it's so odd when I hear that, because at the same time, these folks are, racking up their Shein hauls like it's candy. But yeah, I mean, they've got this Nike thing. So
Right.
what's your take? They're not enterprise, but they're on the rise.
Yeah, I think if Skims is not enterprise, then I think we have a problem. I mean, at this
Okay.
point, they are enterprise. They attach themselves to Nike. I think right now, in the war between Nike and Skims, Nike is grabbing onto Skims, not the other way around.
Right. What does that say?
Says a lot about the state of
It's,
the world.
it says a lot about the state of the world. So touche, KK.
There we
You've actually,
go.
yeah.
Wonder is our next update, as in wonder if this is going to be a company. Mark Lohr, who sold his business to Amazon and then sold his business to Walmart. Now he's going to find his next Mark Lohr, and we are trying to figure out what he's doing. So, recap what Wonder is doing in the last couple of months. They bought Grubhub and Blue Apron. They just bought a media company called Tastemade for about $80 million, which gives them a content studio, gives them an advertising business. They also have apps, like over the top, I think, apps that go, in Google TV and places like that. It's a lot easier to make video content than it does to make food. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a media company eventually.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Wasn't there also like a Blue Apron acquisition?
Correct.
They have been like pulling a
Although
couple
Blue Apron
things.
is worth zero.
I think they picked that up in the bargain basement version. But yeah,
Somebody took off the apron and left it on the side.
somebody took off
And
the
then
apron
Mark
and
Lohr picked it up.
left the blue. So yeah, I mean, it is. I loved your opening. Wonder if this is an actual company. We've been waiting for it. Unclear.
Right.
But
We're still waiting, but look, he has money. He'll keep acquiring businesses. There's a pony in there somewhere, and he's going to find it.
People keep investing in them too. So
Correct.
that's, yes, makes the world go round. Okay. Well, things aren't always forever yeah, if you know where this is going. Forever 21, I guess forever is like 2025. Because it feels like the year that bankruptcy is knocking on their doorstep. They're going to close all 354 stores by May 1st, and unless they find a buyer. They've already closed 236 stores this year. And if we rewind, this company was picked up by Simon Brookfield Authentic in 2020 for $81 million. It felt like it was a steal, but it's not really been playing out is the way they had hoped, right? So they've had lots of competition. Then they did this partnership with Shein, and it's just still not helped bring the brand back. And people at this point, shoppers have found other alternatives. So I don't know. Do you feel like that this has a happy ending or
no?
a crash?
It's almost like, I don't know, when was Forever 21 founded? Like if whoever was 21 at the time Forever 21 was founded, I think that person is now maybe retired. And so I think this is probably like the retirement party for Forever 21.
Yeah.
That's first. And also, I think it tells you that partnering with the company that's trying to kill you is not going to save you. So this should be a lesson to Kohl's partnering with Amazon.
Throwback to last week. Yeah.
Yeah, last week. Now we have definitive proof that Shein is not saving Forever 21. In the past, Jamie Salter, the head of Authentic Brands Group, which owns through Spark, Forever 21, and kind of all the things, said Forever 21 was his worst purchase ever. I think he said that probably the day after Shein invested in Spark Group. So we'll see where that goes.
We sure will. So we talked about the ticking clock in retail and like who's on the brink. This one's been on the struggle bus for a little
Yeah.
while, and it does not seem like we'll bounce back. So
Yeah. Our friend Mr. Kaplan, who literally was a merchandiser in the womb, has been following this story since like I think it was his first word. 20,
maybe
yeah, 21. 21.
21. Yeah, 21.
Something.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's going to talk a lot more about this. He had a great video about this earlier this week, talking about a 4 acts of Forever 21. And so we're going to recap it a little bit here too.
Yeah, can't steal his thunder. It's going to be
Yes.
good. All right. Well, in pivoting to what we're going to talk about today, look, B2B is been on a growth trajectory, especially as it relates to e-commerce for quite some time. I think it felt like for a while, Rick, there was lots of these stories of like B2B is going to be the next foray. And you've seen commerce companies really start to develop their platforms in a way that's appealing to this industry and this sector. So why don't you tell our viewer, and maybe we have more than one today,
Yes.
about who we're going to bring on and introduce Stephen and what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited to bring on Stephen Cope, who's actually the the chief innovation officer at Astrak. He leads the company's digital transformation efforts. Astrak is a global leader in construction equipment parts. So they started more than 20 years ago, construction equipment, undercarriage, and wear parts business. Their goal is to help get customers the fastest delivery time across UK, Europe, North America. They have over 200 employees, and I am very pleased to welcome Stephen Cope.
Thanks, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for being on. And so, look, B2B commerce seems like an increasingly hot topic, and especially in a case where you have a category or set of categories in different types of parts where it's not straightforward. The individual part is simple, but how it's used is difficult. And so why don't you, maybe I shouldn't get ahead of myself. Tell me a little bit about how you joined the business, maybe your career and your scope and remit at Astrak.
Yeah, sure. I started with Astrak just over 6 years ago now. Previous to that, I had 15 years in the energy sector, doing anything from IT to data to working with the trade desk, buying the power and gas. Then I pivoted my career when the opportunity at Astrak came up. So I've been with Astrak for 6 years now. I started out as a business analyst, and now I lead the IT and digital transformation strategy, just ensuring our technology enables us to grow, operates efficiently, and enhances our customer experience. A bit about Astrak. As you said, we sell parts into construction and civil engineering sectors. Our customer and our whole ethos is about getting the right parts to our customers at the fastest possible speed. And that's been the cornerstone of our business, really. And with every decision we make, we always hold that at number one priority.
Got it. And are you guys a marketplace? Are you owning the inventory, or how do you work with your suppliers?
Yeah, so we actually own the inventory. We have multiple stocking locations across the world now, so we're a global player. We have really good supply chain, really good suppliers, and we're very focused on making sure we've got the stock, making sure we've got the right part in the right location.
Got it. And
Yeah.
and it seems like private equity got involved in the business as the business grew, and you guys sort of like hyper charged your growth, and so that must be a lot of new challenges and opportunities for you to tackle as an innovation leader.
Especially challenges. Over the last 3 years, working in IT, we've completed a number of mergers and acquisitions now. So It feels like there's an integration project every 90 days at the moment,
Wow.
which brings its own challenges. But it's really enabled us and gave us the confidence to go into the North American markets. We've just most recently acquired a company in New Zealand as well.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's allowing us to optimize how we manage, how we procure, how we fulfill, and our customer engagements.
Yeah, you talked about you being able to scale, and one thing that really impressed me is you survived a ERP, had the fortitude to see that through, and it sounds like you have all of these systems that you've also integrated and set up. So you've been through quite a big technology transformation. Can you talk about that and how that's helped you set up to really bring in these companies that you acquire and maximize their potential very quickly?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
before you answer, I love like when you're acquiring a bunch of companies. Usually, I walk into these places and they have like 30 ERP systems. And in our pre-call, you said you had one, which is like blowing my mind right now. So, like,
Right.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've got a cloud ERP platform, NetSuite, which yeah, I'm sure some of the listeners will
Yeah.
know what it's like. It's really enabled us to scale. It's very flexible. Every acquisition we do a process alignment piece, and we migrate a lot of data into NetSuite. So we're almost doing an implementation of NetSuite for every business we
Mm.
acquire. And it's key for us because we want to keep the one source of truth. We want to keep the data all in the one place. And that enables us to use our other platforms, which are fully integrated as well, and use our network providers. So in terms of like 3PLs and carriers across the world.
Hmm.
And that's really the power of this strategy. It may be a bit more of a slower strategy because
Right.
every time we buy a company, we're integrating.
It seems like the
Um,
data would be the hardest part of that integration at this point.
it
Yeah.
certainly is, yes. Our parts are quite technical, so yeah, there's a wide range of parts for machinery, and we have to do that big data exercise up front and make sure we match the items, match compatibility. So it can be quite difficult at times, but yeah, we've managed to do it.
So walk us back forward through the architecture. ERP is your source of truth. It's also your CRM. The customer is on the other end. What's in the middle here?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of years ago, we wanted to get into e-commerce in a big way. So we went down the tender path and had a look at some of what was on offer in the market.
Yeah.
Um, the, the main thing for us was a lot of the monolithic companies. They had a certain way of working and a box you
Mm.
had to work within. And with how unique our business is and how unique our products are, it wasn't a good fit. So we decided to go down the headless
Can you
and
unpack that
composable route.
uniqueness for a second? Because I think it's important to understand like the level of complexity that you're dealing with. It seems like it's not obvious, I think, to the average person who sells apparel or something else. Like you have a part, why can't you just sell that part? Like where does the complexity come in?
Yeah, the complexity is that one part can fit 50 or maybe 100 different machine make models.
Mm.
Mm.
And that's really our IP data. We've grown that over the last 20, 25 years now. And it's about building that customer journey as well. So a customer will know what they want, so they'll know the type of part they want, and they'll know the machine and model they have. And it's about back working from that journey back to
Hmm.
how we manage our item data in-house. So that's been the biggest journey for us on the data side.
Yeah, and there's no database you're pulling from. You mentioned you're building all that yourself. Like something else that caught my attention was though it sounds like you can go to market pretty quickly once you've acquired a company and you bring them in. And so what has helped you develop that formula to kind of stand these up quickly and push out?
I think it's all to do with scalable and flexible solutions. And especially on the e-commerce side, we have that now. It was a lot of effort up front. But yeah, that speed of entry in a different market or different territory, the architecture we've built, which is fully integrated into our ERP system, has helped us with that.
Got it. And so from a e-commerce platform, it's the glue between that customer experience you wanted to create as what and that ERP system in your CRM. I'm assuming, because there's a lot of customer data that might affect the journey too.
Yeah, the key thing was trying to keep it all in the same place. I think historically, where we've tried to do this, we created data silos and processes that weren't integrated. But as you scale, it's just impossible to maintain and manage that. And that was in the forefront of our minds when we built out this structure.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, in our interview, kind of leading up to this thing, you talk about, and I think Jess, you're going here too, just like idea of future proofing your architecture, especially in the sense that you are going to keep acquiring companies. Your business is not getting simpler, and you want to keep your team. Like you told me before the call, like how few people are on your team, which kind of blew my mind again with how complex the product set is. What does future proof mean to you? Like as an operator and someone who's trying to maintain all these things that people are throwing at you.
I think key for us is to have that architecture in place, that structure in place, that can grow with us. Now the structure's in place, we do maybe tinker around the edges, but ultimately it's all front end now work because the back end's all done. And it just means even if we acquire a company and they have a different shop front or different front ends, we can plug that straight into the back end and use the power of our ERP and the scalable of our ERP to enter new markets.
Got it. And you mentioned NetSuite. What are some of the other vendors you have in place? And then talk to me about the front end, like how are you building that?
Yeah, sure. So we went down the route of selecting Elastic Path as our composable e-commerce solution. And Elastic Path's great in the sense that it can grow with us. It's built API first as well, which is really key for us. So we're using the connectivity of NetSuite, and we're using the capabilities of Elastic Path to connect and tie everything into the one structure. And yeah, without that structure, it wouldn't enable us to be able to go into different markets and be able to spin up websites, relatively quickly.
Yeah, didn't you say something like 2 weeks, or it's 2 weeks that you can kind of move pretty fast as you're entering into some of these markets?
That's always been the vision, is to get that down to 2 weeks. Yeah, we've maybe not quite got there yet, but yeah, the technology has enabled us to be able to move as fast as we want.
Wow.
Yeah, and the data again. You kind of mentioned the data side, which is really, I think, where a lot of that complexity is. It doesn't sound like the middle and the front ends have to change very much once you're doing that. And how did you build your front end?
Yeah, the front end is built statically. So there's not actually product pages that you can hit the site on. It's built statically as the user's going through the site. And we felt this would be the best way to offer the best performance and the best speeds, especially with today's e-commerce landscape. People need quick websites. There's nothing worse. There's no worse turn off than a website that's really slow. You'll end up going to a competitor. So you have to have that quick and unique experience. But we actually built on 3 different pillars. It was stability, the speed, and security. So every decision we made during the build was around those 3 pillars.
Wow. And it sounds like you had full buy-in, like from your CFO, the CEO. Sometimes with these projects, Rick said before, most people want to re-platform. They'd rather gnaw their arm off before they re-platform. You guys had a lot of patience, and kind of tell us about those dynamics as you kind of worked with the leadership team together to see these things through and keep investing. Because I'm sure it's also there's lots of different places you can invest your dollars.
Yeah, you're right. And especially coming up with a technology solution like we have using composable and headless technology, it's quite a hard sell initially
Yeah.
to get your head around that. So especially from a non-technical perspective.
Right.
But I think everything we do is customer centric and around the customer. So the quicker we can build these platforms out and get into the market to serve our customers better.
Yeah.
Um,
What you're
sorry.
saying here, I think a lot of people really struggle with if they're in this headless composable world. If they're in simple products, they're all, it doesn't make sense a lot of times, but for a complex user experience, even just having this conversation, how are you, because you're talking to people who have no idea about technology and they don't want to hear about it. They just want to hear what the customer is going to do.
Yeah.
And how much money they're going to make and how quickly they're going to make that much money. And so how do you bridge the gap in that boardroom, that CFO conversation in a way that is relevant? Like, do you build a prototype of if we take direction A, this is what it's going to look like based on what's in the market, and this is the direction that we want to take. This is the difference in our walk us through that.
I think we probably started with the vision, if I'm honest, and the end goal of how flexible and how scalable do we want this to be. Then we've kind of just worked back from that, and picking the right technology and the right architecture and infrastructure certainly helped. And we're a close-knit bunch on the senior management team, and that really helps. So your voice is heard, and it's respected, and I'm the technical lead in the business, so it's really good that the business has that confidence in me to be able to produce such a good technology stack.
Yeah. I mean, it's really impressive. And first of all, I just have to say how many times you've mentioned customer in this conversation. You don't hear that a lot, especially when you're talking about technology, Rick, to your point.
100%.
It just is so impressive. Something else you've said is we can make changes and get site experiences live in minutes and days instead of weeks and months. I'm sure that was also part of your vision as it tied into what it does for that customer experience. How quickly were you, as you went through this journey, able to realize that vision? And did you have this, oh my gosh moment, the minute that you were able to kind of see that change and pivot? And also, were you getting the slow claps from the guys in the back, your CFO, saying thank you for doing this?
To be fair, we've had a few false starts, and going into the different territories and different geographies, consumers act differently and the demographics different. And we found out, especially going into the US and North American markets, consumers, especially for the parts that we offer and the products we offer, shop slightly differently. And we maybe underestimated that from our European model going into the US. But we were really quick to pivot and understand our market demographic, and be able to make those changes really quickly. It has enabled us to do that.
No, I think it's great. And we talk about the customer journey. The customer also wants to pay you quickly, and the business wants to be able to recognize that revenue quickly. Talk about the payment flows, like quote to cash type of things. What options do you offer customers? How does that break down from a use point of view?
Yeah, we did a bit of research up front about what payment gateways to use, what payment options in the different territories, because it is different globally. There's different payment gateways that's adopted in different countries. You guys are talking about Klarna earlier on as well,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's very much the same. Um, and I think with the whole e-commerce piece, it's about getting that user journey right to be able to almost come up with a one-click pay. I think Amazon changed the game there with
Yeah.
with their marketplace. So and the rest of the world has been trying to catch up with that. And I think that's the right route to go down. Well, for us, it's about making sure that the customer is confident that they're selecting the right parts and they're going to get it in the time frame they expect.
Mhm.
No, I think that is, I mean, obviously it's definitely needed, and I think having the flexibility to put the customer in payment methods that make sense for their locale is critical if you're going to grow in that region. Otherwise, you're going to have a solution that's sort of very, has a North American mindset or a UK centric mindset, and it doesn't really resonate with the buyer in that market.
Yeah.
I think that's where some of our partners come into play as well, that they can give us this information and tell us what payment solutions work best in the different geographics.
Something that surprised me too is you actually accept returns, which most people in this industry don't.
They
Can
must be
you,
very heavy.
yeah. Can you tell us about that? Because it's very forward thinking. I think, like I mentioned, I was at eBay and I wasn't in this category, but like seeing stuff move in the business and industrial space, there was like a no returns, pretty much standard across the board. So you kind of blow my mind here.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on that. Again, it comes back to being customer focused.
Mhm.
We, we we like to take that pain on behalf of the customer. So you're right, our parts are big, heavy, dirty
Right.
parts. And yeah, it's just easier if we take that pain from the customer. And I think we get a better customer lifetime value by doing
Mhm.
that. It is a unique approach, but it works really well for our company.
Yeah. So there you have how many times do you have a lot of buyer's remorse is the situation versus like it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Uh, to be fair, our industry is all about distress purchase.
Yeah.
So customers will have a machine that will cost them thousands of pounds a day if it's down.
Hmm.
So again, just making that customer journey, making sure we're
Super
getting the
simple.
right parts at the right time is
Mm,
critical for us.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in these specialty categories like construction, equipment, parts, um, you because you're so forward thinking, you're like you guys are like pioneers. And so people say like the pioneers are always the one that gets the arrow in their backs, or they have to cut through the brush or like whatever it is. There had to be some missteps, mistakes, blind alleys you went by as you sort of put together this solution. What were kind of the, I don't know, one or two biggest sort of like holy crap moments for you that like we need to rethink, or this blew up in our faces, so we need to do something else?
Yeah, I think the biggest moment for us was the European demographic versus the US
Mm.
demographic. The US are very much used to going into hardware stores with a part number or a serial number
Yeah.
and be able to find their parts that way. Whereas our journey for our customers in Europe is completely different to that. We probably didn't recognize that quick enough when we went into the US market. But again, because of the technology, it's enabled us to make those changes relatively quickly.
Hmm. And then looking to the future, what's exciting for you? What do you guys have on the horizon? What other big swings are you going to make? Because it feels like you aren't afraid to take them, which is also not
That's right.
common. So what's the next big swing?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we've just acquired a company in New Zealand,
Mm.
and we're looking to build out our operating model in
Hmm.
that side of the world now. And I'm sure that there will be a lot more acquisitions as well over the next couple of years that will keep us busy.
Yeah. Well, it's extremely impressive. I've personally learned a ton, and Exciting to see your growth, and congratulations. Like I said, you guys have been so forward thinking, and also had a lot of fortitude and patience as you've gone through all of these different big, heavy transformations, including the inventory that you guys carry. So don't go far, because we have our dance party, and you can show us, like, what are the
Some
overseas
kind of,
moves that
your
are
desk
hot.
dancing moves.
Yeah, your best dancing moves. So you get a little bit of time to practice. But we're going to bring on our friend Nick Kaplan for Kaplan's Corner.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you
Thanks,
coming on.
guys. Thank you.
Hi.
The man
Hello.
himself
The
emerges
man
from the
himself.
shadows.
Legend, exactly.
That's right.
Emerges
Yeah.
from the shadows.
So many good things.
Merchant from the womb.
So many good things. So I think the producer will need to stay on top of me today and the notes to make sure I don't go too long. I'm quite passionate about this topic. There were some extracurricular activities regarding my post earlier this week that shall remain nameless as to the sources, etc. The integrity-filled Kaplan is here to talk about Forever 21. So here we go. Like, I love this story so much because what people don't know about me, and I was really a merchant out of the womb, but I spent like an insane amount of time flying back and forth to Los Angeles, building a business in the plus size world in the same community as Forever 21. And for anyone that hasn't had a chance to get to downtown Los Angeles, which for over a century has been a hotbed of wholesale activity, you have to go. It is like a third world country. You are Korean first, you are Mexican second, and you are from the United States third. Korean, Spanish, English. It is an amazing place, and really a place that drove Forever 21. So let's talk about that. Forever 21 starts in the mid 80s, and bear in mind, Zara starts in the mid 70s. H&M doesn't really make its transition to fast fashion until the late 90s. So Forever 21 is a huge driver. What do they have that Zara doesn't have? They have this crazy market downtown of people in their community making clothes. And they're not just making clothes, they're cutting and sewing these clothes in downtown Los Angeles. And when I tell you, like, fast and fast and fast, amazing. And they're like small stores. I think the Forever 21 originally, I'll cite my source, was 900 square feet. Eventually they get to like 6,000, 8,000 square foot stores, but it's really in the 90s into the early 2000s that they blow up. They start opening these crazy behemoth stores. And what ends up happening is Act 1, my 4 acts, is really the beginning of this, an amazing concept, a husband and wife, an immigrant family that builds an incredible business and solves a really big problem. People want trendy clothes, cheap, fast.
Yeah.
It also
You
creates
need stuff to wear to the club.
Exactly. And that was it, right? And by the way, they created a little bit of a problem too over time, sustainability, but that's a separate conversation.
Ooh.
So they grow, right? They grow and they grow and they grow. And so by the time we get to Act 2, right, we're like big, like they're like thumping and pulsating and crazy stores. I remember in the Fox Hills, which is now called, like, Fox Hills wasn't so nice, so they made it like I don't know, whatever they called it in Los Angeles by the airport, by LAX. There was an amazing Forever 21 that was like small. When they built the behemoth, I remember going to a Champs, like acoustical tile ceiling, terrible lighting, and seeing the clothes. I'm like, wow, this is terrible. So these granite floors, this music, incredible, but the same style is like in 50 places in a store. And so it gets bigger, crazy. Now, time goes on. Forever 21, does anyone remember Mervyn's?
Yes.
Yes.
So I remember the first time Forever 21 took a Mervyn's and going there. Forever 21 again, like still not competing with anybody. They're like leading. And around 2016, this brand called
Shein?
what's it called? Called Shein decides, holy bagoli, I was going to say something else. We can ship goods now that the logistics network with DHL is good enough, direct from China, not pay duty, and like we can build great content, make it far more social, and we can really just be a technology company and connect these sources that are really turning goods faster. And so that's kind of like when we get to Act 3 as the music begins to stop. And like, I would love to do another post. I was thinking about it as I'm like doing some research here about bankruptcy, which is the most interesting experience you never want to be a part of. But I've been a part of a few. And if you really take ChatGPT and you take, tell it, give me the day one filing for Forever 21, you look at it and it clearly states, right, like we have now been disrupted by, Shein and Temu. But going back then to 2019, chapter 11, because we're now at chapter 22. It was tough, right? And so, Forever 21 now has, I want to say, and again, citing my sources, ChatGPT, 57 countries, over 800 stores, and like they're just churning and burning, and it's really like no soul. This is a company that like solved the problem. It never had a soul. And so when you don't have a soul, what happens, Rick? What happens, Jess? You trade on
price.
Yes.
And like there's people doing it cheaper. And so they file for bankruptcy, and who comes in? The White Knight, which is a licensing company and a landlord. Licensing company is amazing. There is none better than Jamie Salter and ABG.
Sure.
And there is really, like, Brookfield is huge. And so they come in and like, wow, we can do this because like Arrow and Simon, all these things are working. But guess what?
Yeah.
There's a problem. Like, these are massive stores. And the competition is only getting more challenging, and it has no soul. So as we ratchet forward, we kind of come to today, which is like the second death, like the chapter 22. And in my opinion, you guys said it before, like they're not coming back from this. I don't think there's value in the IP. I think they've been completely disrupted. By the way, the Department of Labor really, really, really cracked down and ultimately shut down the sewing operations downtown, and thus it moved overseas, which was really hard. Yep. So like I think people don't really realize that, like where their things come from, how they're made, and the costs associated. And so I think that like, my final thoughts here are, like if you're going to start a brand, right? Like you solve a problem, you got to evolve. Forever 21 didn't evolve. Forever 21, and I remember early on we had a store. Like you would think early in 2008, fashion to figure, trendy clothes, plus size women, we were like giving the clothes away. I remember the first weekend, there's like 60 people online for 3 fitting rooms. There's like 40 people online to pay. And I'm like, oh my God, the store next door is available. Let's take it. I did the month and I'm like, no way, you can't make it work. A store double the size doesn't have the same productivity. Going from these like 6,000 square foot stores to these massive stores, a huge issue. You can't trade on price. There's like so few people that can trade on price. Everybody watching this show, and hopefully it's like thousands and thousands of people over the views, etc.
They just tuned in for this.
Well, this is my advice to you. It's free. Most powerful word in the English language, right? You got to have soul. Like you got to have soul. You got to build on trust. You can't trade on price, and you got to have soul. And Forever 21 never had soul, ever. And I remember like in the market, you'd walk around and be like, oh, we're sending samples to Mrs. Chang. Like she would literally, I'm moving back now. Yes, no, yes, no, no, yes. To product, that is not infrastructure. That's not a CEO. That's not trading in futurism. It's trading in the now, and that is ultimately what led them to chapter 11, and that coming forward is what led them to chapter 22. And that, my friends, is my original piece on Forever 21.
Very well done. I learned a lot, actually. I will say one thing I'd like to build on. I do think their IP will be worth something in 20 years when the grannies, so like I'll be, grandmama, I want to rock my Forever 21 tee.
No, it was like Forever 21 was like all over the place. They would like throw religion. They were so religious, right? So like if you were in their church, you got the business, and if you weren't, you didn't. And like they threw the religious sayings. Then eventually they have this $1 billion business, and they have 2 daughters that are young and inexperienced, and they get elevated like head of marketing and head of merchandise. Like, it was crazy.
Yes, very
cautionary tale for all.
Yes, and I also learned something today. How long Kaplan can go without breathing?
He got really excited about this.
I'm very excited about
his
this.
eyes got wild.
Yeah.
Well,
right, we got to bring Steven back. Nick, that was fantastic. You never disappoint with a Kaplan's Corner, and this one might be one of your best yet. So
yeah, it's record breaking.
Record breaking. Steven, thank you so much. You have spent so much of your time with us. Your story is fantastic. It's so impressive.
We appreciate you, Steven and Nick.
That's right.
CIO of Astrak here on the program.
Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll be back. See you at Shop Talk.
Shop Talk.
Anyways.